Obama officials are refusing to say whether assassination powers of the president extend to American soil. This is very interesting. This is coming up in the context of John Brennan's hearings and investigation for his nomination for CIA director. It's being reported by The Guardian that now we have seen Brennan asked the question several times as part of the confirmation process. Could the president order an assassination of an American citizen on U.S. soil and essentially be completely free of legal persecution? And we're not really getting answers, okay? So he was asked in writing, could the administration carry out drone strikes inside the U.S.? And his answer was an answer that was not to the question that was asked. Brennan's answer in writing was, this administration has not carried out drone strikes inside the U.S. and has no intention of doing so. So not answering the question, right. Essentially what we got from a bunch of times. He was also asked, and I think this is telling, could you describe the geographical limits on the administration's conduct? I think we have a missing word here. Could you describe the geographical limits on the administration's conduct of drone strikes is really the question. And Brennan's answer was, basically, there are no geographic limits. He said, we do not view our authority to use military force against al-Qaeda and associated forces as being limited to hot battlefields like Afghanistan. And then he quoted Attorney General Eric Holder saying, neither Congress nor our federal courts has limited the geographic scope of our ability to use force to the current conflict in Afghanistan. So you know what this reminds me of, Lewis. This reminds me of, I know you're going to know the clip when I play it, John Yoo, the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General under George W. Bush, being asked by, we will remember in a second who it is, could the president order someone buried alive? And he answered questions that were not being asked. This is almost identical to what we're seeing with John Brennan now on the drone strikes or assassinations within the U.S. of U.S. citizens. Take a look at this.
Is there anything, Professor Yu,
John Conyers is the one who was asking the questions. Let's take a look.
That the president could not order to be done to a suspect if he believed it necessary for national defense?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that goes back to the quote you just read, because...
No, I'm just asking you the question. Maybe it does or doesn't, but what do you think?
I think it's the same question that I was asked.
Well, what's the answer?
First, can I make clear I'm not talking about...
And you don't have to make anything clear. Just answer the question, counsel.
I have to admit, and we'll continue, this is still one of my favorite clips. This is almost like the Alberto Gonzalez. I can't remember if I forgot to recall, recollecting that thing.
I just want to make sure I'm not saying anything.
You don't have to worry about not saying. Just answer the question.
Okay. My thinking right now.
Yes, right now.
Okay. My thinking right now.
This moment.
Yes. This moment, Mr. Chairman, is that, first, the question you're posing...
What is the answer?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not trying to make you...
I get it. Okay.
Let me answer the... I will answer the...
No, you're wasting my time. Look, counsel, we've all practiced law. Hold it. Could the president order a suspect buried alive?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that I have ever...
I'm asking you that.
Given the advice that the president could bury somebody alive.
I didn't ask you if you ever gave him advice. I asked you, do you think the president could order a suspect buried alive?
Mr. Chairman, my view right now is that I don't think a president would... no American president would ever have to order that or feel it necessary to order that.
So... I was very, very critical of that video when that came out years ago. So I have to be just as critical of Brennan not answering these questions, right? Answering questions that aren't asked. It's the same thing.
In a way, his final answer there is kind of a yes. It's kind of a concession there, saying no president ever has or would have to, but they could. They just wouldn't.
But legally, Natan, that's not really what he's saying. He's just answering questions that weren't asked. And that's what Brennan is doing. So how do we react? I didn't like the John Yoo thing, and I don't like this, but maybe that's just because I don't like these evasive answers. Maybe this is just politics. I really don't know.
I think that the problem we have is that these people who are being questioned, Brennan and you in this case, in this clip that we saw, aren't the people who are really empowered to either make or really talk about the real policy. I mean, they're essentially lower level people. I know that Brennan would be head of the CIA, but still, these aren't the people that would actually make the final decisions. So if I will say one thing, it's like the logic of the system that these guys would not answer those questions and perjure themselves later on. I think that if Congress or the people want to create a framework where these things are explicitly made illegal, there's a way to do that. But if that's not the case, then you have to assume that all bets are off.
Lewis, do you agree with that?
Pretty much. I mean, the whole point of the White House press secretary position is to not say certain things. It's not to say things. It's to avoid saying certain things.
But then we're really talking now not about the press secretary, but about Brennan and the fact that he's being asked these questions. And it's even similar to Supreme Court hearings where why would he go out on a limb now if he is going to create a situation in the future where he has to either go back on things like Supreme Court nominees saying, well, I don't want to prejudge anything. I want to keep my mind open. This is the political system, for better or worse. I would say for worse, but it is what it is right now.
There is really no way to get the answers you want from someone who has that position.
Even with the experienced mind of John Conyers, not able to get the answers.
Well, what can you do? You can't force them to answer your question the way you want to.
No, you can't.
It's a sham.